Welcome to this video on self-care, 6 essentials. Before I define what self-care is, let's just define what self-care isn't. It isn't selfish. It's okay to take care of yourself. But self-care also isn't getting into that place where you're starting to spiral downward and things are getting out of control and maybe you're starting to feel overwhelmed and stressed out by all the things going on around you. So suddenly you say, I'm going to go take a hot bubble bath, or I'm going to go have that piece of chocolate cake. That is not self-care. That's actually crisis management. So self-care is about putting routines in place that help you prevent you from actually getting to a place of crisis. So we're going to talk about the 6 types of self-care, and I'm going to offer you some resources that I use and some suggestions. You'll also find links to these at the bottom of this video in the comments section, so anything I talk about you should be able to link to right at the bottom of the video. Our first phase of self-care is emotional self-care, and these are activities that help you connect and process and reflect on a full range of emotions. And how I like to do that is, you can always talk with a friend, you can write in a journal, you can create art. What is it that helps soothe the emotional self? But one of the best tools that I ever found, and you'll see this in my classroom, is the feelings wheel. This wheel takes the 6 basic emotions at its core and starts to branch them out onto the outer spokes of the wheel, so that you can start to define what exactly am I feeling. If we just sit in the place of anger or sad, we're not able to move the ball until we know more intricately what that feeling is. We can start to identify the source, identify how our feelings toward the situation are affecting it, how other people's actions are affecting us, and we begin to be able to take control. So I highly recommend that you take a moment to study the feelings wheel, download it, print it off, and just begin to use it as a tool to really understand where your feelings are coming from. Oftentimes you'll be surprised that you'll have 2 or 3 feelings at the same time, and when you start to look at them as the whole picture, you get a much better picture of how to cope with those types of things when they come along in the future. The second resource I have for you is this website that I just discovered called the Atlas of Emotions. Now this is a little bit more complex. You kind of have to take a little bit of a journey through this, but it starts to walk you through the different types of emotions, and then it goes into the phases of those emotions, so that as you feel anger, what that might be. There might be disgust, and then phases of resentment and denial and things like that. And I really challenge you, if you're looking for an in-depth look, this is a really good one. So again, taking care of the emotional self is one of those things. Definitely coming up with strategies and tools, and I think the feelings wheel is a great way to start. Our second self-care is practical self-care, and these are tasks that you're going to complete to fulfill core aspects of your life in order to prevent getting into those stressful situations. So for some people, this is when they start to, this is how I'm going to clean the house, this is how I'm going to organize my closet, this is how I'm going to create a budget for what I'm doing. But for some people, that's really, really hard to initiate. So I wanted to give you 2 tools today to think about the practical self-care. And the first one, if you've been a part of my video series before, the first one is just a task I want you to start accomplishing, even if you haven't started doing it, is to make your bed. I have attached a link to an incredible and inspirational speech from a military person who inspired this movement to make up your bed, because I love the idea that you make up your bed and you make up your mind to begin your day. So I encourage you to give that speech a listen. It's really, really great. The second resource I have for you is the Busy Kid financial app. And this is a really great one for you to begin to look at your finances. And it's very user-friendly, it's free, and you can start to create a budget if you get an allowance or you have income. You can start tracking, like, where is your money going. If you want to develop that financial independence, because one of the largest stressors we have in life is money. Our third self-care is physical self-care. And these are activities, of course, that you do improve the well-being of your physical health. Now, people are like, oh, I got to go to the gym or work or do things like that. Yep. Sleeping, we all know what's good for our bodies. The question is are we actually doing it? It's so easy for us to not put the phone away at night, not drink enough water. So that's going to be the first resource I have for you, is just the benefits of drinking water. It is an antidepressant, it is great for your digestive system, and you've heard it over and over again. So I actually often recommend in the mornings, right after you make your bed, is to have a small glass of water. And sometimes I preset that the night before. That is a one step, check it off the list, 2 things accomplished in the morning for physical self-care. But take a moment to read that article on the benefits of water. You'll be shocked at how many things it can do for you, even bumping your metabolism up in the morning. And the second one I recommend is, if you're not up for the gym, at least go take a 10-minute walk. Anytime you have a moment to take a walk, or at least to walk mindfully. If you're walking between classes, or you're walking to anywhere, just take a walk. In order to help you with that, I have created a link to a guided walking meditation that I've recorded. So it's my voice, it's an MP3, and you can download it on your phone. And it's about a 10-minute walking meditation that's guided. And then after that, I have about 10 minutes of music that's really nice to continue your walk in case you decide, because usually you do, once you get out there and start walking, you kind of go, I'm really enjoying this. So those are 2 quick ways to kick up your physical self-care: water and taking a walk. Our 4th self-care is mental self-care. And these are anything that stimulates your mind or your intellect. And hopefully you're doing that. You're pursuing passions and reading a book, solving puzzles, playing games, exposing yourself to meaningful things. That does not mean Twitter and TikTok and Facebook and all of those things. It means something that really is making you think. And one of the resources that I think is great is a podcast. I know I'm listening to the Brene Brown podcast, and it's really making me think about a lot of things. I know I'm reading some books now that are meaningful to me about yoga. But I have put in 2 links, and this is 2 podcasts that I think are spectacular. It's Radio Lab and then Radio Lab Youth. So you can kind of choose. These people cover a really cool, quirky topic, and they kind of dive into it. So the links are down there. Download a podcast, put it in on your walk, and then suddenly we've got double duty happening right there. So again, like making your bed and having a glass of water in the morning, on a walk, you can download a podcast. And you can kind of get your mental and physical self-care at the same time. Our 5th type of self-care is social self-care. These are activities that nurture and deepen the relationships of people with your life. And I know it's really hard in this time right now of COVID, when we're dealing with a lot of screens and not physically with people. But periodically, just a phone call or having even a walking at safe distance can be an okay thing, just to have that time and that human connection. One of the things that I'm doing right now is to drive by and wave to friends from the car. And I stay at my car and they stay on the front porch, and we'll carry a conversation, that physical energy and being in each other's space. But again, if you're underage, you got to get your parents' permission to do that. However, social self-care is super important. So 2 resources I provided for you today are 71 questions for a friend. So these are really thought-provoking questions that if you actually want to sit down and have a meaningful conversation, ask some of these questions. Go beyond the surface level and really get to know something about someone you care about. And the second one are fun and cheap things to do with a friend. And I love this resource list as a quirky thing to go, oh, I hadn't even thought about that. We could go do this and spend some quality time together. So make sure you're taking care of your social self-care. And finally, the 6th one is spiritual self-care. And these are activities that nurture your spirit, allow you to think bigger than yourself. Spiritual self-care doesn't have to be religious, although for some it is. So, this is meditation and yoga. Some of you will go to places of worship. For some of you, it's just being in nature. This is that time we actually don't shy away and grab our phone. We get bored, and then the big questions start to come, and we tend to shy away from those, and we'll distract ourselves. Sometimes it's really good to sit in the spiritual self. So 2 resources I provided for you are questions for spiritual pondering. You'll see the link below. And then also guided meditations and relaxations. This is a great website with like 30, I believe, really incredible guided meditations to help you just kind of find stillness in your body. Free resources that you can use. So these are the 6 types of self-care. And just to review, we had emotional, practical, physical, mental, social, and spiritual. All the links are down below. These are just aspects that I encourage you to think about developing a permanent plan in your life in a permanent place, not just as crisis management. I hope you have a great time. If you have any questions or have any good suggestions, send them my way. Thank you very much.